Alrighty, you guys. Welcome to another daily plan. I'm Boss. Go Boss. It's good to see everyone in chat, especially Yari. Always nice to see you. Also to the guys over at Up. I'll be watching. Got a little thing going on here this stream. We got a new microphone. Tell me how it sounds. Tell me about the volume. How it sounds compared to the last two streams. Also, I put a limiter on the desktop audio, so now all the music isn't going to ever be peeking past my voice. So we did a few audio updates yesterday. And this album is actually called Vroom, Sega Racing. Tell me if it's too loud, if the limiter needs to be limited lower. Also, tell me if the microphone ever cuts out. Yeah, my voice is actually usually lower than. Turns out that original microphone, that last microphone, had a bit too much registry on the highs. Yeah, new music. Maybe a little lower on the limiter. Put down 5 more. Let me know how that goes. It's probably a little bit more comfortable. Let me know how it is. Music still loud. We'll go about 10 more. Well, the good part is that once we set it up one time here, again, there could be a delay. Might be saying easier to raise it an inch. Okay, that seems how proper. On the chart, we're looking at the DXY, the US dollar. Get a nice stretch in. And if you're watching, let me know. YouTube, Kick, Twitch, and always nice to see friendly faces. Yeah, we had a nice rebound on right there at probably make a new high on the day. Head and look at this here. So, when a very low for the day is found somewhere in this box, subsequent highs are found somewhere else. And looking at odds here, seems like somewhere around here. Is about 20 points higher on the DXY. Go ahead and check out some other charts. First, let's screen things. Okay, little update on which assets are performing. The Aussie is doing good across the board. Pound's doing alright, except against the Aussie. In fact, everything is doing poorly against the Aussie, which was my #1 pick going into this week, that the Aussie would be performing pretty alright. In fact, not long it. Sometime earlier yesterday. So, a bit of a drawdown initially, a little bit of profit. Seems like net things are going to be smooth sailing. Hello, the car. Good morning. The euro is also. I do have an update on this. I did take a I forget which hour I took it, but I do know what price. So we're getting a live trade update. Don't know why that changed. Right now, that trade is up nicely. We got vocals. Sorry, I gotta skip through songs that have vocals in them, so then there's no overlap with my. There's only about 3 or 4 songs left in this album here, and then we'll go back to our usual. So let's go ahead and checking the heat map. Is Euro on this? Not doing so hot. Doing okay against the dollar, good against the Aussie. From my research, I've seen the pound should be doing pretty well. Look across the board. Big winner seems to be the Aussie team. The New Zealand isn't. It's against the and in the Swissy. New Zealand dollar. We had more bearish patience right off the rip. So maybe end up with. So far, we're in line with our expectations. Did expect be a pullback on Aussie, which is why there's no. Had much more. That is because another indicator set some probability pivot points. You can see we got good closing odds this week above S05. Pretty good closing odds. So likelihood that we end the week somewhere here. We can trade depending on how bearish. Now this is the nominal expectation because you have nominal expectations, though doesn't necessarily mean it's decisive. But it's good as a base case. However, we didn't really set a closing expectation. It's all the way over here on the 14th. To a week ago. Yeah, it's a little more. It's about 10 minutes ago. We set this bullish expectation here based on the high odds. Let's see, about 50 ups for this. This is for the week. Expected. Then maybe we'll have a slight pull down. That's just based off. Add and load up spreads overall. The long-term spreads are looking pretty good. Adding elements. Yeah, the first song was very good. Do agree, I really right. Hello, Aristotle. Boost on the explode. Curious what I mean by WAP? It's the page. This is actually to find the profit Discord. Here. Where you can check out the opens. These are all publicly available. All you have to do is click on those links for the source. Voice is quiet, it cuts off intermittently. Yeah, that's what I was The microphone is a directional mic, so I have to practice making sure that I speak. Yeah, there are some minor adjustments that I can make to make the microphone a bit more reactive. Again, that's another song. Let me know how bad it gets with me constantly adjusting my head and moving around. But I'm gonna try and keep an eye on the microphone level. Make sure that I'm actually talking directly. The microphone I had before was Amic microphone. This is a directional microphone in a specific tone or yeah, I can see how it's cutting off a little too aggressive. So I have the settings over here. I believe if I cut this down, okay, that should make it a little easier so it stops flipping as much. Might pick up a little more noise in the background, but hopefully that makes it easier for the microphone. Oh, yeah, it's still flipping a little bit. Let's go ahead and turn that down just a tad more. Again, this is the first stream. Once you set it up once, we're good. But yeah, this will take a little bit of practice, but also a little bit of adjustment. Good thing is that once it's set up the first time, it's good to go. Good to go. Oh yeah, I am very, very happy I decided to pick up a real and professional microphone. It has. It's certainly required now that I'm actually back to streaming consistently. Oh yeah. I really didn't like the tinniness of the last mic. It always had static in the background. This will definitely make doing indicator tutorials way, way nicer. Anyways, on the indicators and analysis side of things, Aussie dollar, I'd like to see this short-term yield spread over the last 2 days start to pick up sometime over the next 24, 48 hours. Otherwise, if these negative yield spreads continue to hold up, I'm not going to be too interested in continuing to hold this Aussie dollar long. Now let's go ahead, hop back to a daily chart here, throw the ranges back on. Okay. Let's get the show on the road. We have some economic data coming out here real shortly. S&P Global Flash PMIs for the United States. That's going to come out in about 15-ish minutes. And when we get closer to this release, we'll go ahead and turn on Financial Juice. So if you do hear another voice sometime later on in the stream, that will be our friends over at Financial Juice. I'll let you know when I turn that on. So let's do a quick little review of what's happened so far. French PMIs beat expectations quite nicely. Right here. I don't know how hard that is to see, but French PMIs, the composite came in about a half a point higher, which is very nice, and that's mostly due to a nice surprise jump in their manufacturing. Germany came in so-so, came in all right, comme ci, comme ça, as the French would say. Their services didn't come in as expected. Their manufacturing came in all right. Overall, their composite came in more or less as expected, off by like 0.1. So not a huge miss. And net Euro area, European Union, PMIs came in well. The services PMI came in a little lower than expected, but net we're still above 50 over there on that front. And it looks like the UK PMIs also came in quite well. So let's check out how the pound is doing. Yeah, pound is doing well against everything but the Swiss franc, CAD, and the Aussie. Let's go ahead and check out what the Great British Pound is up to today. Yep, that looks like that's probably it. We're probably going to go up, and away now. Also, you can probably tell that we are now using the centered moving average, which is a bit of a different moving average than what I've been using before. You can see how it sticks to the price a lot more closer when you look at the historical prices. Oh wow, and look at where the top for today came in. Right there at a peak in the distribution. Isn't that cool? Isn't that nice to see when indicators work out like that? Oh, and the yield spreads went to a more negative move. It's very nice to see things working out as far as indicators go. However, net, it looks like the pound is going to be doing well the rest of this week. There are overall more bearish expectations for the US dollar. I think a lot of the growth scare, negative growth expectations for the US are going to be a bit more overblown. Some of the benefit here on the pound, I believe, if I go to Financial Juice and we zoom in here so it's easy for you guys to read. I saw something here with Starmer. Yeah. Ah, there it is. UK Prime Minister Starmer and Trump had a brief call on Sunday to update on progress made on the, quote, economic prosperity deal, said the Prime Minister's spokesperson. And Starmer also said, I would not consider changing our fiscal rules. So we'll see what ends up happening tomorrow. Actually, I believe it's technically Tuesday, so in about 48 hours, we're going to be getting the spring statement out of the UK. Let me go ahead and move these guys over to the left. Let's see here. Any breaking news off of X that I should be aware of? BlackRock Investment Institute head says the US and China stand to benefit the most from the AI story. Gotcha. Oh, Iran is considering an offer to engage with the US and UAE mediation. Talks would be indirect, but would encourage or engage on a substance of Trump's letter. This is an exclusive. No, not now. Yeah, the initiation of negotiations between Iran and the United States would be imminent. Speaking on condition of anonymity, a high-ranking political source in Tehran asserted that Iran has yet to respond to an apparent request for the Emirates to facilitate engagement, saying, we have not decided yet. It all depends on the response to Trump's letter. Okay. Our policy is definitive unless we see a change in their approach. We are all, Iranian and US officials, gathered in one compound, and our hosts would go back and forth between the rooms during negotiations to relay the positions. Okay, so we may be getting, hopefully, a de-escalation with Iran and the United States. Very, very nice to hear. How many more minutes do we have? We have 9 more minutes until the S&P Global Flash PMIs for the United States. And that'll help inform us on the direction of the US dollar. As far as expectations go, it seems like we will expect some worse survey data, mostly based off tariff expectations. So we may end up with a bit of dollar strength and then see it get faded. Oh, did we just get some news out of Canada? Because I'm seeing the Canadian dollar. Let's go over here. Yeah, check that out. Canadian dollar is not doing so hot right now. Well, I'd say it'd be a tough call to say that the low, or rather that we'll make a new high today. Let's go ahead and check out the low dots here. Yeah, pretty decent chance that the low comes in probably sometime immediately. Unless these flash PMIs are especially strong, we could see something along these lines here. Down over here to these dots, somewhere around this peak. And we can set that style to be red, and we'll timestamp that. And let's clean up the chart. So if US PMIs come in particularly strong, if the survey looks like, hey, we're going to get some good growth out of US, then we might see a bit of US strengthening. Then on the Euro side of things, yeah, that might be it for Euro. Again, if that's the top for the day, unless we're making a new low, or yeah, the rest of these lows are kind of spread around the 108 handle. Quite a bit of variance, you know, plus or minus 10 pips around 108 seems to be the case. All right, we'll go ahead and load up our good old playlist here. I'll go ahead and hop out of this for a nice little short day trade. I'll post this in my trade logs. Nice little 15 pip trade. Nice. A good way to start off the day with a little bit of profit. Just a little. And how much more time? Alright, we got about 4 more minutes until the flash PMIs come on in. That'd be a good time if you guys wanted me to check out a particular asset to ask. I'm actually going to bring up the equity indices. Oh, wow. Check that out. Nice moves higher on the S&P and on the NASDAQ. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we move 100 points higher here on the NASDAQ if we get good PMIs, and maybe another 20 points higher on the S&P if we get good numbers here out of the S&P. When we look at GJ, sure thing. Wow, what a nice strong move that's been. So since the open, GJ's up 120 pips. Nice run there on GJ. Very nice run. How are the yield spreads doing? Oh wow. There's a nice fat peak right here. And it seems pretty mixed short term and long term on the yield spreads. It seems to be recovering on the more intermediate side of things. Wouldn't be surprised to see more positive run through here. That's more or less going to depend on, frankly, how the BoJ minutes turned out. There's no major surprises expected for the BoJ minutes later today. But you know BoJ watchers are going to be following it very, very closely. Speaking of, let's check out dollar yen. So far, so good. Okay. I'm going to turn down the music a bit, and I'm going to turn on our friends over here at Financial Juice. So if you now hear another voice on the stream, those are our friends over at Financial Juice. I'll have to set up a proper audio mix so that then our friends at Financial Juice aren't limited. But in about 30 seconds, we will be getting the S&P flash PMIs print. I'll go ahead and bring up dollar head here.
49.8, 49.8, lower than forecast, 51.8. S&P Services PMI, 54.3, 54.3, higher than forecast, 51. And the composite PMI at 53.5, 53.5, higher than forecast, 51.3. Bit of strength coming through in the dollar here following this release. Again, services PMI higher than expected, quite marked, and the manufacturing PMI weaker than expected.
All right. So weaker, actually, no, stronger than expected flash PMIs.
So looking into the report here it notes that jobs growth was subdued amid heightened uncertainty about the outlook and concerns over rising costs. They say input price inflation accelerated sharply, especially in manufacturing, to a 2-year high, often attributed to the impact of tariff policies. However, competition limited the pass-through of higher costs to selling prices.
Okay. I think our friends over at Financial Juice might be a bit quiet, but we'll go ahead and resolve that in future streams. Essentially, most of the move seems to be due to tariff concerns.
Treasury is extending losses after a mixed March US PMI numbers. Stock indexes holding gains.
I do have another trade to share. Let me go ahead and check this out. Oh, that's the wrong one. We went long. Dollar CAD. That was my poison of choice. Again, my expectation is for a higher dollar CAD as the Americans and the Canadians continue to fight on policy. However, we'll see how well that story holds up, as it seems like Carney and Trump are willing to begin talking to each other. So let's go ahead and check this out over here. This is the actual PMI report. So let's see what these guys have to say in the commentary section. Chris Williams, very nice to see him. Welcome upturn in the services sector activity for March has helped propel stronger economic growth at the end of the first quarter. Better than expected. However, the survey data are indicative of the economy growing at an annualized 1.9% rate in March, and just 1.5% over the quarter as a whole, pointing to a slowing GDP growth compared to the end of 2020. Okay. So, things are looking good, but not great. So, a lot of the concerns that happened from some of the forecasts, a week or two ago, about negative GDP or closer to 1% GDP, yeah, that doesn't seem to be happening. Right, near-term risks seem to be tilted to the downside. Growth is concentrated in the services sector as manufacturing fell back into decline after the front running of tariffs had temporarily boosted factory output in the first 2 months of the year. That was more or less expected. Similarly, some of the March upturn in services was reportedly due to businesses picking up after adverse weather conditions had dampened. Business confidence in the outlook has also darkened, souring further from the buoyant mood seen at the start of the year, largely caused by growing worries of negative impacts from recent policy initiatives from the administration, i.e. tariffs. Most widely cited were concerns about the impact of federal spending cuts and tariffs. Spelled it out for you. Alright, a key concern over tariffs is the impact on inflation. That's also consensus. We expected that. Firms' costs are now rising at the steepest rate for nearly 2 years, with factories increasingly passing these higher costs onto consumers. Okay, so we might see a bump higher in inflation, which could keep the Fed on hold for May. Would not be surprised if the odds of a May cut just went lower than they already were.
To NBC, Trump to hold another cabinet meeting with Musk today.
Okay, Trump and Musk are having another meeting today. That's good to know. Thank you, Financial Juice. Thankfully, from the Federal Reserve's perspective, services inflations remain relatively subdued. But this reflects the need to keep prices low amid weak demand, which will harm profits. All right. So we'll have to see the follow through.
From NBC then, Trump will gather his cabinet secretaries for a third known meeting this morning as his administration faces legal challenges over immigration and prepares to unveil new tariffs. Now, Musk is expected to attend the 11 a.m. meeting. So again, this meeting happening at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. This is according to a senior administration official who described this gathering as a follow-up on the last BoJ meeting, in reference to a meeting on March 6th, where Trump placed limits on billionaire tycoons' authority amid backlash to new cuts by the Department of Government Efficiency. So again, Elon Musk expected to attend a cabinet meeting with Trump at 11 a.m. Eastern time today.
Let me know if Financial Juice is, in fact, too quiet for you guys to hear. I believe, given the current limit I have on the music, Financial Juice is getting ducked a little bit too much. But effectively, if you couldn't hear, and let me know if you couldn't hear what Financial Juice said, but I'll go ahead and repeat. There's going to be a cabinet meeting in about an hour and 10 minutes with Trump and Musk on DOGE initiatives, and apparently Trump is going to be announcing some new tariffs at this meeting. I don't know if I want to stay on stream for, potentially another 2 hours here. But I'll go ahead and stick on stream if you guys are willing to watch alongside with me. Give me some charts to look at and some things to commentate on. So, net, this is in line with expectations, a little good and a little bad. But the bad is much more marginal and is not surprising to worsening conditions. Other than these costs getting passed on from manufacturers, things look pretty good. We can look at the PMIs for the UK. And for the Eurozone. Let's see here. This is also the German and the France PMIs. Oh, and here is the Japanese PMIs. And then also Australian PMIs. These came out yesterday. So we have all these reports here of different PMIs from a bunch of major countries. We might want to check these out in a bit, but I'll hold off reading these for now. And net, the trade seems to be holding up. Ah, man. Looks like that was getting out a little too soon. Missed out on about 25-ish pips there. Darn. On the strengthening dollar. Still, win's a win. but you hate to see those kinds of misses.
Cable erasing gains steady at 1 spot 2919 after being up 0.4% earlier.
That does look like a decent spot to catch the low on the day. Sure does. I'm inclined to take a shot. Good odds that the low is in. And unless the meeting that we're about to have in an hour and 10 minutes takes us down to these dots down here, so it'd be a move like this, I think this is a decent spot to put the stop based on where these dots are laid out. That's what, 15 pips? Go ahead and slap that in as the actual stop and set it and forget it. We'll see if we get a rebound into the end of the day here on the euro side of things. But net, that was pretty good on the rotation. Looks like the yield spreads are not liking the latest news, especially on the short-term side here. So not a positive development for the yield spreads here going, which has me a bit more cautious of the likelihood of this trade actually working. It's good to know your assumptions going into a trade. Might make it work, what might not make it work. But this is a good counterbalance to this dollar cat trade right here. And for different reasons, right? Canada is a bit more combative right now with the United States. And we'll see how well the euro area holds up here.
Set aside temporary block on deportations under the Alien Enemies Act.
We'll go ahead and put financial juice on hold. And let's check out the DXY real quick here on 5. So, flash PMIs came out about 10 minutes ago. 15 minutes ago, and DXY has had a nice positive boost right to the spot we were expecting. There's your next peak here in the distribution. I didn't think we would hit this spot or make new highs today. That's literally what I said at the beginning of the stream. But now that we have, let's go ahead and check out the dots. Yeah. So either this thing starts trending higher, effectively immediately, into the next hour, or sometime over the next 6 hours, we top out over here. Either that or right here. Just curls over. So let's go ahead and review. 2 expectations, like this or like this. We'll see which one we end up getting by the end of the day. But net, that was a good release for the US dollar. Yep, the CAD trade seems to be doing... Oop, don't want to move that. Let's go ahead and lock that drawing. CAD trade seems to be doing a-okay. Yo trade, still not doing so hot. All's good. These are all very reduced sizes, especially when trading on the day. These aren't long-term expectations. When I'm setting trades up for weekly or monthly setups, I'll typically use a bit more size or take multiple small trades over time if I can, trying to nail these weekly or daily highs and lows if I have a weekly expectation. And then try and build a position. But in situations like this where it's just for the day, these are pretty small sizes. So we'll see if this holds up. The Russians say the Russian forces repel Ukrainian drone attack at gas condensate field in Crimea. I thought that the ceasefire was on energy infrastructure. So if there was really an attack by the Ukrainians on energy infrastructure, that's not going to make further ceasefire negotiations any easier. Remember, the war isn't ending, the fighting isn't over with the current ceasefire. It's just for energy infrastructure, and if that news report I just read off is true, it's not going to make future negotiations any easier. Alright, I think now is a good spot to end the stream. I'll go ahead and transition us to the end of stream transition here. Well, hopefully you guys, I mean, it seems like the microphone sounds a lot better. Absolutely enjoying the commentary and the feedback here in the chat. And maybe when things pick up and get a bit more active, we'll also have a few more people asking what's up here in the chat. Other than that, I'll be hanging out in the Discord. And again, links to all that is in the WAP, so if you want to join the Discord for some trade research, go ahead and join us, Plan the Profit, over at WAP, wap.com/plantheprofit. You can go ahead and hop in to the Discord or join the trading group, get access to those indicators, and see the trade logs. Alrighty, you guys. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be watching that Trump meeting in Discord. That is due in about an hour from now. And I will see you guys in a bit.